when we rolled up there was just enough time left. And then I stroked her hair and realized this was it. Said, I can't believe it, looks like we're calling it quits. She said, I know, baby, leave it, it is legit. And then she told me lean over, and so I leaned, touched her shoulder. That's when she whispered in my ear. She said, baby, come here. Said, baby, what's good? She said, I love you. I said, you know I do too. Oh, I call her my LA exit. Can't stress it, I just might have to rest it. 'Cause I just left my baby at LAX. And now I can't stress, and now I can't rest, because I just let her go. Oh yeah, I just let her go. And I can't say nothing less, and I can't do nothing more. I just left that girl at LAX. And I can't say nothing less, and I can't do nothing more. And I just left that girl at LAX. And now I can't even rest. This boy right here can't get no rest, 'cause he just left his baby at LAX. If you ever left your baby at LAX, throw your hands in the air. Throw them lighters up like you don't care. She got you smoking now, she got you toking now. Like, how does it feel? She got you smoking now, got you toking now. Like, how does it feel? I ain't stressing, I ain't resting. Left my girl LAX-ing. She just LAX-ing and left it.
Did they break a window?
Yeah. All right, folks.
And nobody heard anything? Nobody heard the glass shattering. That's suspicious. I mean, there's a lot of glass.
That's a lot of glass.
It's a lot of windows breaking.
A lot of windows.
It's a lot of noise.
A lot of noise. And I'm not right there. I promise you, I ain't got nothing. They didn't even the alarm off on my truck.
Maybe like 4 or 5 a.m.
Now, according to everybody who saw the car hanging out around, it happened around midnight.
Do y'all see the car tonight?
No, that lady there that just went back, she saw the car. Her and her husband, they saw it.
What kind of car?
She said it was a white Malibu.
Good car.
Huh?
Good car to go fast in.
Well, it wasn't that good if you stopped around there and put 3 quarts of oil in it. I think the bottles are still laying around there.
While he had people stuff in there?
Yeah.
Nobody called the cops.
Nobody saw it, man. Nobody even knew it until the next morning. Nobody knew it until the next morning. I got up, looked out the window, I saw all them glass laying out there. I said, man, then I looked out in my car and damn, it didn't look like my window was broke too. So when I come downstairs, when I looked, I could see daylight through my car. I knew the glass was broke. My windows are tinted, you know. He didn't get anything out of it though. Because I was looking at in that response, you know, blank, 4-wheel drive out here, bust both the heels out, stole all his tools. Another one up there in the corner, the blue truck, got a motor right there, he bust heels out. Another truck sitting there with a trailer hooked up to it, he stole a lot of tools from him too.
Wow. It's a lot to happen with no witnesses.
Yeah.
You too, brother.
There are actually quite a few places I call home. Los Angeles has definitely been one of them and has taught me immensely about myself, time and time again. I transitioned from the Coachella Valley to Los Angeles again, and a week later, the world shut down. Now, my life seemed to have fallen apart prior to all of this entering the United States. Not prior to it spreading, but prior to nearly global shutdown. I am very grateful, very, very grateful for the hospitality I was shown in LA by my dear Aunt Tracy. And who would have thought it's been over a decade since I met her. Her love is the epitome of that which can transcend time and space. And I want to dedicate this episode to her. I had an opportunity. I had a chance. Because rather than being a burden on someone, or not even a burden, not contributing. And I think I heard a therapist, I think she's got a show on Showtime called Couples Therapy or something, which I thought I would like, but it actually kind of frustrates me because I'm single, and couples need to get it together. So, okay, that was my little push-up beep. So now I gotta do push-ups. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, stop! 1. Alright. You heard the dog running around. And it's funny because there's been 2 dogs in my life consistently. One is our dear friend Irie, who can't seem to sit still whenever I want to podcast. And now we're on hardwood floors, so... Can you come here? Can you sit down? Sadie. Sty. All right, good boy. So, thank you, Aunt Tracy. And I'm sorry for the abrupt departure. I do some things impulsively. I do a lot of things compulsively, unfortunately. And I also tend to dwell on decisions, big decisions, far too long. So when a big decision comes up, I have to not overthink and go with my intuition. And my intuition got me on the road. Now, I had previously recorded this podcast, this episode, while driving. The audio is pretty rough because you can hear the road and all that in the background. So here I am re-recording, but I wanted to deliver the same message. I just made an LA exodus. I migrated from the west to the east. I road tripped through the United States for the sake of my well-being, to change my situation from homeless to residence to resident. And those of you that know me know that I came of age on the East Coast. I was raised in Virginia, Washington, D.C. area, Atlanta, Georgia, just the South. And I've even gone so far as to live in New York for half a year. And I'm talking about the big city, the Big Apple. And it's so funny because I got hung up on this idea that I was being sent back to Los Angeles. And I had to muster up the courage to go back there. Because like Moses in the Old Testament, I ran. I felt an injustice was done me over and over again. And I developed an anxiety, I developed a fear about the city of angels and the people that dwell there in the dark arts. Now you all know, and I keep harping on it, I'm working on this next book, which is inspired by true events and really focuses on the underbelly and dark oligarchy, that shadow government that runs the entertainment. And if it's running the entertainment, then it's part of the media. And I found a big problem. So I had listened to Sarah Jakes Roberts' podcast, and I could run to that thing. I could run to a lot of her messages. And I love Torre, her husband, there with Activation 1 LA, Potter's House. I can listen to him on the cool down because I'm learning. It's very informative. Sarah, she's definitely got a genetic gift from her dad, a spiritual gift, a generational gift, to deliver content and get people revved up, get those synapses firing and preach. And one of her main messages I tend to dwell on is called Sent Back. And it's referencing Moses being sent back to Egypt, where he ran from. So I thought I was being sent back to Los Angeles. I thought that was where my Pharaoh was. And it was funny because the first time I recorded this, I was passing an exit called Thoreau. But right when I said Pharaoh, I saw that Thoreau sign. And it almost... And the things that happen, I may just go ahead. I'll probably release that as a bonus episode. And just if you want to deal with the audio, because my heart was so moved by the landscape, by the scenery, by the weather, by the situation, by just literally riding on faith. I mean, I really did not have any room to deal with a flat or breakdown or some type of mechanical failure or a car accident or even honestly getting pulled over. I literally thought I was driving with a suspended license. Even though I had paid the fees, I didn't know that they had gone through. And I literally had to pay for my car registration and getting my license unsuspended with my stimulus check. That's where that went. So you want to talk about feeling the economy. And it's just funny because California, you can end up paying $400, $500 for your car registration. Whereas in places on the East Coast, they cap it at $25 every year. Why would you charge a citizen that much to register their car? A new car. I mean, regardless. So I was... Oh, okay. I guess they saw somebody. I was on the road. Okay, hang on. Let's investigate. What are you barking at, Bubba? We're not... No. You're not going to go chase down that old man getting out his car. No. Sometimes you got to lay down the law. Sorry. Y'all been outside all day. We ran this morning. First run in a long time, but I feel like that was symbolic. I wanted to make today, May 1st. It's 3 months
3.5 months till I turned 31. And this year has been so full of ups and so full of downs. So I think I was ready to transition back to Los Angeles. However, like I mentioned, the Showtime therapist, she said on NPR that this situation, lockdown, quarantine, is a relationship accelerator. Now, I have been living in isolation for over a year prior to moving in with my Aunt Tracy. And I'm a bit of a brute. I'm a guy, I'm a bachelor. That doesn't mean you cannot be clean. But I realized how unsanitary, how unorganized. I realized a lot about myself, and I'm glad I was able to do it with her. Now, I have Irie, my dog, and an opportunity became available for him to have a yard, for us to get around a bigger support system, and I just seized it. I didn't overthink it, which I probably pulled the trigger a little early. However, I kind of just wanted a rush too. I wanted a little adrenaline rush. I mean, I used to go on Anaconda at King's Dominion. That's a roller coaster over and over. Or, Flight of Phoenix was an indoor roller coaster where you just blast off over and over. Like, I have been an adrenaline junkie my whole life in certain ways. As I've gotten older, I've definitely developed more anxiety and fear. So that's something we're going to work on, because I know I don't want to be living there. And I look forward to theme parks opening up. And I am nervous about my back and my neck. And I wonder if I'm ever going to be able to ride a roller coaster again. Or what if my back goes out while I'm sitting on a roller coaster? Is it worth the risk? In any case, we could deal with that later down the road. I drove. I started on a Sunday afternoon and ended up in Arizona. I drove the 40. Now, the 40 is the shortest way. It's the fastest, but it's also the most desolate and isolated. And nightfall came, and once that happened, and the potholes in Arizona, let me tell you something to the state of Arizona, and y'all need to fill up all them potholes, because that was absolutely ridiculous, especially at night in the middle of nowhere. I felt like I was in a darn horse buggy, just old timing it. Everything was rattling. You know, I had the car packed up. So I slept in the car. I had a very, very weird, it was just a weird area. Like, it was in between Arizona and New Mexico. And it was like the last stop before you got to like Albuquerque, like the last piece of civilization. And yeah, there were a couple of exits, but in between 4 hours, and I only have like 5 or 6 exits with nothing but gas stations. I said, let me go ahead and pull over. And I was sleeping in the back seat with my car, cuddled up with my dog in Flagstaff, Arizona. I'll never forget it. And I see a woman out my window walking, and that's why we pulled over, because I was worried about ice. I wasn't really concerned about ice until my car, an alarm went off. It had never gone off before in California, talking about low temperatures outside. It was so cold, my car was letting me know. It was like 33 degrees. It was near freezing. So I didn't feel safe driving on the road. I didn't realize what I'd gotten myself into. I said, let's just sleep it off till morning. Well, I couldn't sleep that well, and not just because of discomfort or anything like that, because I actually had more room in my car than I thought. I think my intuition and my spiritual magnetic field, all that was kind of going off. Like, this is a weird area. So I look out my window, and I see this lady in like a white nightgown in like a black shawl, and her hair's laid down. I can't really see her legs, but I can tell that she's walking. And I'm like, is that... Because it took me a while to focus. And then she walks past this car that's like 3 parking spaces down. And I'm like, that was not a ghost. I said, let me keep watching, because then if she's walking into the gas station I'm parked behind, then I'll see her pass this car next to me. Well, she never comes out on the other side. And I literally got into the front seat and looked over past that car, couldn't see her. And why someone would be walking in like a white nightgown with their hair down in 33-degree weather is a little weird. So I had a weird feeling. I had to I was like, Eric, your eyes are playing with you a couple of times. I was just like seeing things. I didn't know if they were really there. So needless to say, around 3:30 a.m., because people want to say that's the witching hour. Well, that's the time where my faith goes into overdrive, because we got back on that road and I wanted to see the sunrise. And man, I was not disappointed, let me tell you. Watching the sunrise as you're cruising into New Mexico. And that was the weird part, is because I knew I was like, I'm going to be going past like Roswell and just the Arizona, the Phoenix lights. Like, I was like, I do not want to see no Sasquatch. I don't want to see no UFO, but I kind of did. But I think this trip was definitely more towards the ghostly side, which was very interesting, especially when I got to Oklahoma. But I sat up here for a while and thought I got sent back to Los Angeles to face my Pharaoh. And I applied for jobs right as everything was shutting down. I even had interviews with big name companies, and then everything shut down. They weren't hiring, they were laying off people. I didn't feel like a failure, but I did feel like a failure. And I wrestled with that. And I wrestled with a dark depression. I wrestled with feelings of inadequacy. And they have accumulated over time to the point where it's almost paralyzing sometimes. But I know I have the strength. It's almost like I've never had sleep paralysis, but I have had dreams where I have to wake myself up to move. And it's not like, oh, I'm fully awake and I can't move. It's just like I have to build up the strength. And even if that means mustering up a scream or something. So I made the exit from LA. I got on the road. And I mean, the sunrise over New Mexico. And when you get to New Mexico on the 40, right there at the state border is where those, flat top mountains start. And I'm going up this peak, and the sun had just risen, and it's breaking through these clouds. And it was so funny because it was uphill, but it was a valley, and the sun was directly in line. I mean, if I was going east, and it literally rose over this valley, even though the valley was up in between two mountains. I felt so inspired. I felt like it was divine. I continue to feel that way. I know that it was God kind of reassuring me that I made the right decision and I made the right move. I am driving through New Mexico in the early morning hours, and I pulled over around 9 a.m. at a gas station, and they had a whole bunch of trinkets, like all the Indian moccasins and the hoodies and the magnets and the headbands. But people are walking wearing my mask. I have my Clorox, it was Comet bleach. I got that all over my pants because I'd spray my hands with the cleaner for your kitchen or bathroom every time I got in and out my car. Then I said, okay, I need to stop doing that because I done black sweatpants. So I changed over to hydrogen peroxide, witch hazel, and Nature's First or something, an all natural thing. I don't know if that kills germs, but. And then I had my hand sanitizer and wipes. And gas prices were so cheap all across the nation, especially leaving California. I mean, you're talking $2.45 a gallon. Because I had considered this road trip, and I'm like, this is going to cost me at least $500, $600, and then I have to have an emergency fund in case something happens on the road. And I mean, I had a lot of anxiety, and anxiety is not a good place for me to be. Like, I'm not the type of person that needs to be like scared if a cop's going to pull me over, because I literally had a heart attack 3-4 months, not even 3 months ago. So I have to be mindful of that. I got to be mindful of that. And now we're here with Romeo. You might have just heard him bark. He's a little Jack Russell Terrier. Yes, he is. Cutie pie. Hi. All right. So, took a nap again. Got back on the road. By the time I got to Albuquerque, I was mid recording this episode for the first time. And just feeling like God was with me, that I was doing what my life path needed me to do. And it was a big risk, and it was uncomfortable, and I was just at the first part. That was probably like the first third of the trip, was getting to, let's say, Albuquerque, and then on through New Mexico to Texas. What I didn't want to do was go down on the 10, I think that's what it was, and be near Juarez, or, near Mexico border, and have some breakdown. So that was my motivation for the 40. I just did not really consider. And then I'm like passing signs for the Grand Canyon and all these tourist spots that are just like closed. So it's desolate. I mean, it was beautiful in the daylight, but intimidating at night. And by the time I had to make it through Texas, and I did the little top of Texas, and then we got to Oklahoma. And Oklahoma is where my faith really got tested. Oklahoma, about 2 hours out, what would have been 2 hours from OKC, Oklahoma City. I found a $40 hotel room because, people aren't traveling right now, discounted hotel rooms. Well, I found it at a motel, little did I know. But regardless of that, I start seeing these clouds coming off the distance, and you're going from California through the desert, Arizona, desert, ice cold, New Mexico, just desert, open plains, tumbleweeds. And then you're in Oklahoma and it's green, and there are trees off in the distance, and then some of the trees by the freeway are just torn off, like just splintered, like big old trees. And I'm realizing this is Tornado Alley. And I'm seeing these dark clouds coming from, what was that? What would that be? If I'm going east, so the west, like the northwest. And I don't like it. I don't like it one bit because, one, I've been living in California. And I might have grown up on the East Coast, but where I live, there are trees. You don't really see the storm rolling in from a distance, and they're hills, but flat, open area, freeway, desolate, and raindrops started hitting my windshield. Now, one thing I should have done, one of my wipers is screwed up, and that thing just popped, like the rubber band. It just was flickering. And it had done that. We refilled our gas. It was like $1.25. I stopped at this gas station in Oklahoma. I was the only black person there, the only person of color, and it was a trucker stop. There were at least 20 other people, either working or getting gas, or truckers. Nobody was wearing a mask. A lot of them wearing like camo, like wood, foresty jackets, like hunting jackets. And I realized I am not in Kansas anymore. I've not been to Kansas, but I'm not in California. And they had a little grassy area. I played fetch with my dog for a second, but then I said, something told me let's go. And I'm glad we didn't keep playing fetch, because had I left later, we would have got caught in that storm. And even though the storm was approaching, it was really crazy because I turned on a podcast by Sarah Jakes Roberts, and she starts talking about the storm. And I swear, what she was saying about having faith, just enough faith, every moment of that trip, I needed to hear exactly what she was saying. It was almost like she was narrating what I was going through from the other side. And even though the clouds were approaching off in the distance, in the east, in the northeast, was a rainbow. And the road was taking me to that rainbow. But this dark, dark mass of clouds was hovering above me. And not only was it hovering, it started getting lower. Like these spherical bowls looked like they were dropping out. And I realized those could very well be tornadoes. I had to keep my eye on the prize. That rainbow, it was a saving grace. I also took it as a sign from life, from God, from the universe, that as long as I kept that in mind and realized that there's a rainbow at the end of this road, that storm cannot touch me. And for the last hour of the trip, I was going well over 90 miles per hour. Me and this Mustang, we were not getting caught in that storm. And you could see the road emptying out. You could see the traffic start dying down going towards it. Because when I looked in my rear view, when I looked in my side view, total darkness. And I mean, it was not sunset. That was my goal. Get to OKC before sunset. And now sunset is early because a storm's rolling in. And I really had my faith tested, and I was praying, and I was nervous, and I was shaking, and I was driving very fast to get where I had to go, because I figured if anybody's going to pull me over, then you stand out in this storm while a tornado's coming down. And it was gnarly there for a second. Like it was pretty intimidating, because I thought I cleared it, and the highway took me back up north a little bit, and lo and behold, the rainbow went out of sight, but there was this another pocket of a cloud, and it was so low to the field next to me, and that thing took about a good 20 minutes to drive by. I mean, that's how big it was, but you could see this funnel trying to drop out of this cloud, and we floored it. And I got to Oklahoma City right as that storm was on my heels, and it rained for like a couple of hours. It wasn't a tornado there in the city. They called one of the girls at a store I stopped at. She's like, "Okay, Mr. LA, don't panic." She's like, "My friend from California, she always panics." She's like, "If you hear the siren, just step out and go, to the lobby." But she was like, it wasn't a big deal to her. It was a big deal to me. So I get to this really shisty, crummy, and I have been holed up on drugs in some motel rooms, don't get me wrong. But even in those low points, this was the crummiest motel I have ever stayed in. I mean, the floor was cracked from water damage. It was just ghetto outside. Like, you could tell people lived there. Just dirty, paint chipping. I don't know if that's Oklahoma style, but I called the mayor's office and left him a message, because y'all need to get that together. Especially, and I know it's right by the airport or whatever, but there's a quality of life that was missing. So I'm not in that room not even an hour, and there's a knock at my door. And first of all, I was put off because, and they ended up refunding me in full for this night stay, because I told them, the front desk guy, I thought he was a guest, because he was out front smoking, and he was supposed to be working with me through the glass, no mask, coughing, sniveling, and there's COVID. And so he's coming and bringing me out my cards and my ID and having me sign stuff, like not keeping social distance, not doing any preliminary measures to be safe, and it was absolutely unacceptable because now you're taking my life for granted. So I just was so tired. I was like, we're going to just roll with the punches. This is what you do on a road trip. There's a knock on my door, and obviously my dog, Irie, is going to start going off. And even when I was holed up in motel rooms doing drugs and drinking my ass off, no one ever knocked on my door that wasn't invited. Not the hotel staff, anything like that. So I was a little disturbed, and I looked out the peephole, and no one was there. No one was there. And I was a little freaked out because that has happened to me before. Once in Florence, Italy, this big door right behind me, I was sitting at a computer in the foyer, and I heard dum, dum, dum. And I looked up at the security camera, which would show you somebody outside knocking on the door, and there was nobody there. And I was like, that's really weird. And I went to open the door, and I did, and there was not a soul on the street. So then a second time it happened was back off of Mulholland Highway at this old mansion these guys lived in. We were all partying upstairs, and I went downstairs to grab another beer or something. And I was walking up these stairs that are like crescendo, like that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air house. And I see through the glass pane, and I hear dum, 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 3 knocks. And I see white guy, black shirt, looks like he's got black hair, knocking at the door with the back of his hand, with his knuckles. And I say, hey, there's someone at your door, there's someone at your door. Nobody answered. So then I said, okay, I'm going to open it, because I could see there's a person there. And the guys that live in the house are all in one room upstairs. We were just sitting in a big-ass circle, drinking, smoking, just having a good time. I open up the door, and on the other side of this glass, what I thought was somebody, there was nothing there. And it wasn't just like somebody walked away, because I looked both sides along the house. Not a soul in sight. So this was not the first time I've dealt with something like this, and I immediately was triggered. I had a terrible night's sleep. And I'm not going to lie, I did drink when I got there. And I wanted to put myself to sleep, even though I was exhausted after that trip, after the tornado, and now this. I drank, and I tried to drink myself to sleep, and I woke up so unrested. I woke up and saw little baby roaches. I slept with the lights on. My dog was itching. I had to give him a shower. And it was a daunting experience. I'm glad I'm strong enough to go through it. But yeah, like I said, I got my money back, because I ended up calling the cops. I called the front desk. I was like, did you guys just come up to my room or something? And they're like, no. I said, because somebody just knocked on my door. And the guy at the front desk was like, oh, that's unacceptable. I'm going to call the police. Now, if that's his go-to, now I realize the type of area I'm in. Don't advertise on Hotels.com. Don't advertise on Expedia. Don't do that if you are a slum. If you're just in the slums. That's not somewhere you put on the internet. You let the locals or whatever deal with that. But you don't advertise that like this is a safe, clean environment. And I sanitized that whole room. There was black, like gun dust. There was like a blood stain on the wall, maybe from somebody sitting there with grease, or maybe they got their brains splattered. I don't know if it was blood by the bathroom or if it was red wine. It was supposed to have like a kitchenette. None of that worked. I mean, it was just absolutely unacceptable, and the motherfucker was haunted. So, needless to say, I was glad to get out of OKC. Then we rolled through Arkansas, I think. And that was chill. A beautiful, beautiful landscape. And yeah, we did the rest of Oklahoma, and we did Arkansas, and then I booked a room in Memphis, Tennessee, and just getting back down south. Like I used to go to the aquarium in Tennessee when I was in elementary school from Atlanta, and I was just glad to be around hospitality, people of all types of colors, and just decency. There's a level of livelihood and just decency that's acceptable, and some that's not. And I'm sorry. OKC was not okay with me. In any case, I stayed in Memphis and it was a much better experience. I will tell you, extended stay America. I mean, I'm rolling on a budget, but you know what? That's a way to stretch your dollar because it's almost very formal. Like I felt like I was staying in like what is it, the L or Lowe's hotel. Yeah, and I had a corner unit. I had 2 windows, a kitchen. It was almost like a little studio apartment, which was great. So then from there, I went on, and now I'm where I'm supposed to be. But I learned a lot about myself. I'm glad I was able to push myself and endure with back and neck pain and just mental anguish because it was in the middle of the trip where I was like, I think I told my grandmother on the phone, I said, I think I swam out. I feel like I swam out too deep, where I went surfing, and you paddle out and you start to look around and you're the only one out there. And then, you want to look at the water below you, but at the same time, I'm not trying to like look for sharks. Because at that point, when I'm out in the water waiting for a wave, any little fish is going to freak me out and I might fall off my board or just think I'm getting attacked. And it was like, what did I do? But I'm really glad for the hospitality being shown to me where I'm at now. And I will reveal that as things develop. But I still don't have my original studio set up. Still working out some technical difficulties, and with the financial stresses we're all facing, I had to prioritize. But I wanted to get you all something. I wanted to give you an update, and I also wanted to help you be inspired. And I'm not saying leave where you're at and go move somewhere, but follow your heart. Following my heart, it really eases the pressure, and it helps me sit with who I am. I can be and rest easy with myself. And I'm my biggest critic. And even though I've given that honor to other people, I know I'm my biggest critic. And that's why I guess I'm glad I've made it to 30 years old and can let stuff go. Because doing this is not easy. Really, my life is no one else's business. But your opinion of me and my life and how I express myself is not my business. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you joining me. But I take your opinion with a grain of salt. And like my aunt here teaches me, unless we're laying up under each other or we're waking up, in the same bed, then what you think of me really doesn't matter. But that has been one of the hardest lessons to learn. So I admire people that have always had that. I find myself being more expressive. And I'm so glad I'm away from the shallow vanity of Los Angeles. People can honestly, that city, I do call it home, but let me tell you something. I'd much rather be with living the simple life, farming and mowing lawns and, going to Piggly Wiggly than walking into a restaurant and every girl looks like a Kardashian. They all look the same. They all got the dark hair and the Botox or the lip injections and the same style. And it's cool to an extent, but it's just not me. And even animals migrate. And there was something primal about it. I had to dig something out of myself. It was very therapeutic. And I'm okay with making an exit from LA. And it's been a long time coming. And not just LA, but it's just so funny because that's where it was like me coming of age in college started. And now, before I left California, that's where I'd been. I'm still learning. I'm still excited, and I had a rough patch. I mean, this pandemic and just career-wise, and maybe hopefully a third of my life crisis, not a quarter life. Hopefully a quarter life crisis, because then I could live 120 years. I don't know, but things didn't go my way, but they went life's way. The past 9 months, past year, I did the AA thing, and then I got out of it, and I just stopped drinking for a while. And now I've just slowed down, and I smoke weed, and I go on runs. And life's good. Life is so precious and so good. And there might be people out there that now that this COVID and, the world's never going to be the same, maybe wishing they did heroin or did some drugs or did something gnarly. I have no regrets. I don't. I have nothing but gratitude, because I did roll the dice, and I've won big in many, many ways. And some would say I don't deserve it, but those are the some that probably aren't listening to this. In any case, I wanted to check in, and I will release, I think if you can get through the static noise, I'm going to release that road trip, what I recorded, because it's a little bit more in depth. I was much more in the moment, but I just wanted to let you guys know I'm okay, and I hope that you're okay, and we can be okay together. Oh, and another thing, I'm trying to leave LA before the big one hits, because let me tell you who ain't going to be stuck under some cement or concrete wall when the earthquake hits. This guy. Whew. And did you guys see the asteroid that passed by us? Now, I told you. Now, you can go back on my episodes. 4, 10, 20. 4, 10, 20. What's the fourth letter of the alphabet? D. What's the 10th? J. And what's the 20th? T. DJT. Those are the initials of the chief and commander. I knew on that day shit was going to hit the fan. But the world was already in chaos. So, you heard it here first, on the rhetorical sake. So grateful for you joining me. I'm looking forward to producing a lot more content now that we're settled down and we're getting our chakras in line. I need to meditate. Yeah, cool. That's my tip. Or that's my question. That's my rhetorical question. Do you even meditate, bro? Do you even meditate, bruh? Y'all have a good one. I'm out, and stay tuned for a lot more.